iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.
Nervous, excited, beaming. I'm so proud to be in this moment. Yeah, I mean, 7 years of really, a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we're so excited to be here.
This has been a labor of love for us for quite a few years. So now it's just it's getting to the point where like your child is like ready to go off into the world, and so we're proud parents.
Yeah, we are.
So we're very excited for the world to see it and for the cast to be able to experience this new momentous occasion. Starting the off-Broadway run. So all good things.
It came out of a theater class that we were running. We did an exercise on empathy, and we had the students at the time write down how they were not feeling seen. Never did we set out to create a musical. It just kind of happened naturally and organically, which I think is the best way that art is created.
Yeah, they were supposed to, we were supposed to put all these little scraps of paper into a hat, and people were going to draw them out and put themselves in somebody else's shoes, be like, all right, this is what somebody else is feeling. Let me figure out how to act this out. And we, just kind of put them on the kitchen counter the night before just to get an idea of what the class would be like the next day. And we were pulled to tears. I mean, people were dealing with, homophobia in their own family. They were dealing with mental health things. They were dealing with, their own body image. All these different stories started coming out to us, and we basically were just heartbroken. So Leah had the idea of trying to give a voice to people that felt like they didn't have one. And Labelist was born.
I think also once we saw the audience's reaction to that first performance was, I had no idea that they would connect, so much to what was being said on stage. And it's just grown. 7 years, many, many phases, different casts. We're down to 16 cast members now from all over the world.
Yeah, I think for us, the biggest compliment we can receive is that people see it once, and then they want to come back and bring, other family members and friends with them because they were so moved by it. Mm-hmm. We were sitting in a dress rehearsal last night, and I was sitting there crying like a baby, and it's because, there's been so much work and effort and blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into it, but it also, the stories are so powerful, they're so moving, and the music is just, there's a chord change in our finale that every time I hear it, I get goosebumps, and I'm just like, oh my, yes, and then it just starts happening.
Well, and I think the world needs it right now, right? We need some more empathy and love and hope. And so I think the show is, as much as we're talking about all of these specific issues in these monologues and the real stories, by the time it all finishes, you're leaving the theater just joyful. And I think that's exciting as creators, too, to create something that is moving people to be excited about the world, that there is some hope out there, that we can all listen to each other and see each other for who we truly are. I think we're a great team because we lock into our lanes, right? So, Drew writes a lot of the music with, additional members that are creative members of the team, but I stay in the choreography section, the staging, directing, and then we value each other's opinion. So I think it works, right? We have respect for each other as artists.
I think it's also, she is a big idea person. Like, she is like dreams big, thinks big, and I am much more of a detail, like, all right, this is what we got to do. So I think if we were both like dream big people,
we would never
get things done. Or if we were both we would never see the potential of it. So I think the fact that she's able to see the idea of where it could be and where it could grow to, and then bring that vision to me, and then I am able to help, kind of put the steps together to make that happen. I think it's just a great partnership, and I think we both believe so strongly in the project. We believe so strongly in its message, and the fact that it does have the potential to change people's hearts and minds, which is a very, very rare thing to say when you're dealing with, entertainment.
Absolutely.
That it could change the world, but we honestly believe it could. So we were
well,
last night in rehearsal we were talking about, kind of the chicken or the egg, like what comes first, like the story or the music, and for us it's always story driven. It's telling the story about this person that's coming together and coming forward and bearing their soul. This is their story, or they're telling the story of another cast member. So for us it's finding the best way to get that story told in the strongest, most clear-cut way. And whether that is, through the choreography, whether that's through the music, whether it's just through the monologue and the storytelling, each one is different. There are certain songs that you're like, okay, this is our finale. There's this is our opener. There's certain ones that are clear-cut, but most of the music was written specifically for that story.
And I think it's also being really in tune with each other in regards to what are we trying to say, right? And being specific with that so that it is, choreography is my passion, but I wanted to be really specific in it, especially in this phase off Broadway. What are we trying to say with the movement? That was very important to me. And same with the songwriting. So it all has to, work beautifully together, which is not easy. But I do think that with the cast and our amazing creative team, we were able to do it. We are able to do it, I should say.
I think for the most part, what we've tried to do is make every story just a human story. There is no story that is a political story. There is no story that is talking about religion or anything else. It is literally one person's true, authentic story. And so there is no arguing that. There is no way of saying, well, that didn't happen. It did happen. Story. It's what happened to this person. Yeah. They are telling you their name, and this is what happened to me. So there really is no way to not believe them. I mean, when the storytelling is that authentic and that true, people their hearts are open. And when your hearts are open and you're not necessarily listening to what you're hearing on the news or what you're seeing on social media, you're just hearing one person to another person, and you're hearing their story, and you're hearing about how their life has been changed one way or another. That is what we are just trying to embrace and give to the audience, because there is no arguing with it. It's just humanity. Yeah.
It's my favorite thing. I love to sit at the back of the audience, and the cast knows me well. I'm not sitting, I'm standing and kind of pacing a little bit. But that's where I get my gauge, right? Is when I watch the audience lean in a little closer, or the breath. I mean, there's a moment in the second to last song, Rise Up, that is just one of my favorite moments. And it's just about the breath of the movement and how we're all connected as humans. And every single time the audience kind of, or there's someone in the audience that will actually call out and say, I love it. And I'm like, my job, I did my job.
Yeah, so we're not a typical musical.
No.
So people are like, so what is the book? What's the... Take your idea of what theater is, and that's not us. Yeah. We are part concert, we are part theatrical experience. It is storytelling, but it isn't storytelling in the conventional way that people are used to seeing at the theater. So our audiences aren't necessarily always the conventional audiences. You have people that are coming and are literally like standing up in just in the middle of the song, in the middle of the show, just like so moved by what's happening or the rhythm of it and the joy of it. They are literally standing up and dancing along. It is when you're talking about audience reaction and watching the audience, you don't have to look hard. They let you know exactly how they're feeling, and it is you get chills.
I also think we're drawing a different audience. So we have the normal theater goers, but we are pulling in people that, I've had it said to me quite a bit, where I'm not really a musical theater fan, or this isn't usually what I go to, and I am blown away by this. So to create something that is moving people to come out and into the theater, which is what we need, right? We need more art, loving art, getting people to think and open their minds. So it's pretty cool.
And just recently we were in Wisconsin and we were in Illinois. Literally places where you wouldn't think like, oh, this is like, oh, the show is going to resonate so well because you're telling all these stories, and it's the middle of America. Standing ovations.
Yeah.
Both places, they're standing ovations, and it's not the audience that you think would be like, yes, this is the story or the show. They're moved. The stories are so true and so moving that people are just, they can't help but react to them.
So we've locked into specific topics, sexism and racism and homophobia. But I think the beautiful thing about the show is that those monologues can be slightly changed depending on who is coming
Or just completely rewritten.
Or rewritten, depending on who is coming in with that particular cast. It also is not the easiest show to cast, right? Because they have to be triple threats. They also have to be vulnerable and brave to get on stage and feel okay with telling that story. They're incredible. They're incredible. I also think that it's a pretty cool place to be in where this new talent is gravitating towards the project and reaching out and saying, are you going to be auditioning again, or what? What's happening?
So we have one of our new cast members. We were in Illinois, and we did the show. And after the show, she came up to us in tears, and she was like, I am hooked. I am in forever.
Not going anywhere.
Yeah, she was like, I want to keep doing this forever.
Please don't recast me ever.
Because there's a community among the cast that has to be there in order for them to feel comfortable to tell their stories. And it is just such a different energy that you get from the audience. It really is truly moving, and it's addictive. As a performer, you get that feedback from the audience, and you're just like, that is what I want every night.
Every night.
And then you have people come up and be like, I've never seen myself represented on stage like this before. I've never felt so seen or so valued. And then they start to feel the positivity of that as well. It's a pretty special moment. Mm-hmm. Well, the show started.
I have moments that I love.
The show started completely with all covers. It was basically a jukebox musical, and we've picked different songs that would tell the stories kind of that we wanted to tell. And over the 7 years, we now are at 6 covers and 11 originals.
Yeah.
So it's a mostly original score. So for us, the ones that are written specifically for the show, at least for me, those are the ones that really kind of, pull on my heartstrings. There's one called You Are Seen, which just every time I hear it, it's a duet. It gives me goosebumps. There's another song called Do Better. Which is, if you want to talk about a dance party.
That's a dance party.
Yeah, our cast throws down on that one.
But then I also, I love the originals, but, to get the rights to Born This Way by Lady Gaga, that's a party on stage. The audience is, screaming and yelling and clapping, but I have moments. For me, it's moments within the show where the cast is just super connected. And again, going back to the breath and the movement and just the simple looks at each other, I think is so different from anything else. The finale, which is an original, I have never seen an audience react the way that they do to that number. It is just, they cannot wait to get out of their seats. So it's a moment.
Yeah.
It's a moment.
To me, like the shows that you really hold on to, like, you see Cynthia Erivo closing Color Purple. Yeah. There are these moments of like the audience is leaving. Defying Gravity, going out, and there's moments where it just the audience is like holding on to every word that the performers are singing. That's the way our finale is, and that to me that is the biggest compliment I can give. The songwriter Aaron, he just completely and totally nailed this song.
Nailed it.
To the point where, like I said, I'm a puddle, like at the end, and I'm a fairly emotional guy.
It's pretty emotional.
I fake a tough surface, but
you're a softie.
Yeah, I'm a softie. But the fact that I've seen this show, God knows how many times,
and he's still crying.
I'm crying in rehearsal.
So emotional.
I was like, gee, pathetic. My God, hold it together, Drew.
Hold it together, man.
Hold it together. Yeah. It's every song has a different special place in our heart.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I think for us, the biggest challenge is always walking that fine line of, telling the story without making it, talk about politics or talk about religion or things like that. Keeping the story, free of those areas, because literally, as soon as you start talking politics, you lose half the audience. You start talking religion, you lose half the audience. So for keeping the stories pure and human, and not politicizing them or making them say what we want them to say, but just being the vehicle to tell these stories, I think that's always the challenge, because we have opinions.
Yeah.
We have things that we want to see happen in the world and changes we want to see happen. But to keep the show pure, I think is always a fine line.
Well, and I also think that listening to each other is really important. Just like we're asking the audience to listen to what is going on and what is being said on stage, we have to listen to each other on the creative team because we're all coming from different walks of life. And I think that's what makes the show work, right? Is that we're able to open our hearts as well creatively and say, I've never really thought about it that way.
There was one time about 4 years ago that Leah told me I was right.
And then it never happened
it hasn't
ever
happened
again.
Since, but I remember one
Because
time
I'm
about 4 years
usually
ago.
right.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I'm always.
It's not.
I'm
Actually.
always right. I'm always right, except for when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Which is most of the time. I think we're at this point where we love this project so much, and we are so connected to it in the cast that we know that it takes a special person that's going to give to it what
Yes.
we're willing to give to it. So whether that means, dealing with wardrobe or dealing with set pieces or lighting, we are hands-on in
Everything.
every facet of it, just because it really is our third child, as much as our two actual children hate us saying that. We feel so passionate about it that we are tied into every little inch and fabric of this show.
Yeah. Ultimately, for me, I hope that people take away that they need to open their hearts a little bit more in this life and in this world, right? And that we're all just people. And we need to be able to see each other's differences and still be able to work together and be part of a community together. And I think this show does that in such a beautiful way with music and choreography that hopefully the audience, when they leave, they can say, I'm going to go out and be better. Look people in the eye, say hello. There's a lot of the just simple things that I think the world needs right now.
Yeah, I think we're just the realization that we're a lot more alike than we are different. And that if we're able to, see people for just being people.
Yeah.
We're all dealing with our own stuff. We all have dreams. We all have things that we're trying to move past in our lives. We're all dealing with, life in our own way. Just giving each other a little bit of grace, a little bit of love, a little bit of room, a little bit of support. I mean, it's not that hard when you put it that way. We just have to do it. So we had opening night last night, which was a great success. We had a blast, a great audience reaction. But we are running at Theater Row on 42nd Street through the end of March. So March 30th is our last show.
Yeah.
Tickets are available at labellessmusical.com, or you can go to the Theater Row website and get them there as well. And you can follow us on our socials too, because all of our updates and things like that are on our socials too, which is Labelless Musical.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.